Well, I wanted to do a Cuckoo clock repair video, but I went down so many freaking rabbit holes on this repair that it was just ridiculous. This is a 1961 Cuckoo clock, which was purchased in Bavaria and carried all around the US over its 60-year life, and it stopped keeping time. The pendulum wouldn't swing. And so I thought it just needed oil and cleaning, and it needed neither. And so my repair journey began. So let's take a look at this 6-week project. So it wasn't working, all this stuff over here, and I was trying to figure out why. I eventually did, of course. So let me just zoom in here, or bring this close to the camera, whatever works. Now I've cleaned this up and polished it up and used some steel wool on it, and what you can see is that the chime side, the strike side, is a large oval hole, and actually on the clock side it too is also defective in that it is not round anymore, and it's enough to shift the gear where it jams up. So that's what stopped the clock. Now, could I have put a bushing in there? Probably, but I'm not going to deal with that. I mean, no way. So I got this timepiece, but I have to go back a step because there are 3 different kinds. There is the electric quartz, in case you want a quart. There is a 1-day and an 8-day, and I have a 1-day, and the brand isn't all that important, but it's Regula is the brand that originally came with the clock in 1961, and the Regula 25 is the 1-day clock. So this one is a Regula 25P, whatever that means. But it was broken. So you can see right here that this plate here is supposed to go on here. And that little cutout, that little notch in there, is for the spring. So I ended up buying one. And when I bought it, I also purchased some hands, because the minute hand is just reassembled with some shrink tubing, and the hour hand seems to be okay, but I didn't reuse it. Now the hands are bright white on the current model. Then I also noticed when I disassembled it, one of the bellows was torn. Now, I did not do that. It was torn. So only one was working, and I didn't even realize it. Didn't really pay attention. You can buy this. This is a leather. You can buy it and reassemble it, and I just ordered 2 new ones. And this is what they sent me. For some reason, they look different. But anyway, I told them, hey, you sent me the wrong ones. I didn't want these. And they did send me the correct ones, and I installed them. Now, what I did is I placed the hole directly over the hole on the flute itself. And that caused some issues on the back side with the Cuckoo bird actuation. It was touching, and also the lever that sits on the bellows that makes the Cuckoo go up and down, that was also affected. So I had to deal with that. Now the first issue that I had to deal with when I took the new one in and out of the clock 5 or 6 times or more was on the front side. What would happen is if I tried to get it to chime, the Cuckoo lever, which moved the Cuckoo out of the door, and then it just bobbed with the bellows. What would happen is this thing would jam up. And so I kept trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And then the other issue I had is the Cuckoo, the weights would go all the way to the floor. It would not stop. Absolutely not stop. Cuckoo, 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 all the way down till it ran out. I'm going, man, are those related? What the heck is going on? Then the other issue I had was with these levers right here. You see it looks clear. I mean, they're working fine, but they were completely out of position and jamming up. It was just ridiculous how it just jammed the whole clock up. It was just beyond stupid. So anyway, so off on why I went on my little adventure. So the first thing I did, which took care of like 90% of my problems where I could get the mechanism working, was the reset lever right here. This one right here that I'm moving. See, you can move it with this lever here. So when I was trying to learn how the clock worked, and this jammed up, I would reset it like this so I could free this up. But this thing would just lock down here and it wouldn't function. It absolutely wouldn't function. So what I did is I relocated the spring. I wound it tighter. And let me show you how I did that. So what I'm about to show you is going to stop your runaway Cuckoo. So if your Cuckoo, especially on a new device like this, or maybe it's your current one, I don't know, if it runs all the way down to the floor, you're going to have to put more tension on this lever right here. So we'll disconnect the spring. And now that spring is off, and I really do not want to damage it too much. So what I decided to do was rotate it around to the bottom and hook it onto the bottom right here. So let me do that. Just get it into position. Hopefully I'm staying on camera. So there it is on the back. And I'm going to lift this around. And hook it back on here, like that. And that took care of my runaway Cuckoo, where it actuated the bellows and ran uncontrollably to a stop. So that was easy enough. However, it was a ridiculous amount of time to figure that out. Just absolutely stupid amount of time to figure out what the heck was going on. So that allowed this guy to reset back down here. All right. Over on this side, I had to bend these out. I don't know if it was in shipping or what, but I had to bend these out and make sure there was no touching anywhere as the connecting rod went up to the bellows. So that was very important. The clock absolutely did not work until I did that. It's absolutely ridiculous. The chime, the hammer on the chime, you just have to bend it and bend it and bend it until you get it right and it strikes it and makes an appropriate sound. That's very frustrating too. It's also best when you get it near the position to cut off the excess. Just like here, also I had to cut off the excess. If you don't cut off the excess, it'll hit the bellows on the other side. It'll come just ridiculously close, may even hit and interfere, and any touching whatsoever is bad news. So going back to the Cuckoo post, you can see how the springs have been abused over the years. I don't know who's been in this clock, whether it's my father-in-law or someone else, but you can see it's shaped completely different. So I just didn't want to swap it out with this one, which had a plate like soldered on here. I guess I could have welded it back on there somehow, but I was just having so much trouble with this to begin with. I just didn't want to deal with it. And I also didn't want to deal with trying to figure out how to use the original one in its place. But as you can see, the length of the wire, definitely need to cut that off. Alright, so that was my big adventure in the world of Cuckoo clocks. And the lessons learned are, if you do purchase a new mechanical system, you may have to put more tension on the spring. That is number one. You'll probably have to pull out these bellows actuating arms. That's number two. Number three, you're going to have to cut the wire shorter so that it doesn't touch anything. And you'll have to adjust the hammer as it strikes the bellows. Then the other issue I had, which was related to the bellows. So I measured these and ordered the same size, but they were tapered, and that caused me to move the flute forward a little bit so it would not touch the bird lever. So when I moved it forward, the chimes, you know, it's just a circle that the hammer strikes. You know, the hammer strikes. Well, that was touching the flute now, and so it wouldn't chime. So I had to bend those and maneuver them. They couldn't touch the wood they were mounted to, and they couldn't touch the bellows on the left side as you were looking at it. So, which is also the bird side. So this is how you look at it when you open up the back of the clock. So that was all fun. I know I didn't show you a whole lot of work that I actually did to the clock, and that is because it happened over like a 6-week period, and this bench was just, you know, sitting here like this with parts on it, waiting for delivery, or waiting for knowledge to get in my head so that I could make the repair. So there is quite a bit to it, and my biggest stumbling block was buying a new mechanism thinking it was ready to go out of the box. It's not. You have to bend this wire, and as soon as you bend it, you can't send it back. You have to manipulate this wire for the chime. Of course, as soon as you manipulate that, you can't send it back. You have to manipulate the bellows actuating arms So as soon as you do that, you can't send it back. And you have to make sure this spring is tight so that it stops the cuckooing at the appropriate time when it indexes down. So that seems kind of weird, and I did want to mention that twice, I can think of twice in my life, I have put in a defective part, like working on a car. I'm going to give you an example. I bought an alternator. The light was on, said it wasn't charging, went got an alternator, put the alternator on, and it says it wasn't charging. And so I checked the tension on the belt. I started, going to the event horizon and fell in the big black hole, and down I went, Back then, the voltage regulator was separate, so I bought a new voltage regulator, and I just started throwing parts at it and checking wiring, checking battery, just on and on and on and on and on, when I just put a defective part on the car. I don't know what made me go and get another one, but one day, in my frustration, instead of taking it to the shop, I just went out and bought another one, and it worked fine. So the Cuckoo clock is kind of that way too. If you buy a new mechanism, whether it's a 1-day or an 8-day, I would think the quartz would work, unless you have a dead battery. You're going to need to make adjustments to it. So that's really my video. That's really the whole point of this video, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch it.